Isn't it weird that the two ancient genres of dungeon crawlers and roguelikes hardly had any crossovers? Games like Dungeon Hack being the rare exception. Well, maybe Gloomgrave can fill that void, even if it's just a little bit. This dungeon crawler is being developed by Netmancer and can currently be purchased as early access for less than $4. In this preview, I will give you a quick overview about what you're getting in this early access version, what works well and what not so much. First up, you can choose one of 5 available character classes, though if you first start the game, the only class you will be able to pick is the Rogue, as the other ones need to be unlocked first via reaching certain goals in the game. The characters all have one special passive ability, like getting more loot on the Rogue and getting a buff on level up on the Knight. And on top of that, they start out with different attributes, making them more suited for certain equipment. With the characters chosen, you land right in a freshly, randomly generated dungeon and start exploring. The controls are the usual WSD with using Q and E for turning around by 90 degrees, and you attack by either just bumping into an enemy or clicking on them. While the movement through the dungeon is somewhat quick, it would profit from some polish. Your input is neither queued up or executed immediately, so if you walk forward and want to turn, you first need to wait until the forward movement is completed, otherwise your turn input is ignored. And that just doesn't feel great in this otherwise rather fast-paced game. On the first floor you will encounter some skeletons and maybe some slime, which might split itself into 2. Generally, most enemies are either just engaging in ranged or melee attacks without having any special abilities like that. Combat works just as it does in a roguelike, meaning you do your action and then all the enemies do their action. Attacks and moves are the only actions which end your turn though. Meaning if you want to, you can quickly go into your inventory and eat something to still your hunger or get some hit points back. As food is limited, that's not much of a problem in terms of balancing though. While the rogue starts out with just a sword, you can also switch over to a bow. And you can even do that without ending your turn, which is actually a bit problematic because you really profit from it. But opening the inventory screen every time for doing so becomes annoying quickly. And by the way, all the classes you can choose at the start of the game can do melee and ranged combat, but depending on the attributes, they might need to raise strength a bit, which is required for lots of items in order to use them to their full potential. The focus on strength in the game is a bit weird and also somewhat imbalanced, as it just gives you access to much better gear, even on a rogue. The attributes can be increased by finding some randomly placed humming shrines, which will grant an attribute point. But slaying through your enemies will also grant you XP, and on a level up, you will be able to decide between one of 3 bonuses, which can also have a big impact, like healing a bit on critical strikes or reducing the prices of the merchant, which can be found in the dungeon every now and then. And of course, items are the third way to improve your character. Either find the items or find coins and buy them from the merchant. Just be aware that you can't sell anything. These merchants also sell some golden keys, which are necessary to open locked chests in the dungeon. Besides of vendors, chests and these shrines, there isn't anything too exciting to find in the dungeon though. Nothing regarding special events or encounters. That said, the random generation of the layout of the dungeons works well. No blocked paths or insane corridors, and it kind of feels organic, just not too exciting. You also have a map you can open in a separate screen to get an overview. This brings me to another thing which should be improved. The game also exists on Android, and it's probably thanks to that the interface is a bit too simple for its own sake. A minimap on the main screen would have been nice, for example, but also some tooltips in your inventory, or an indication whether the new weapon is better or worse than the old one, or having your character attributes shown in the inventory and not in yet another screen. So the interface could definitely use some work. The graphics use very big pixels and are kinda basic, but make a professional and good impression. So does the music, which isn't special but not bad either. Though I guess the repeating loop can go on your nerves after a while. That said, the game is also not super long. There are 3 different areas with different graphical styles and enemies, which got 3 levels each. And if you manage to go past all these, you won the game. Unfortunately, there's no final boss or anything like that yet. Hopefully the final game will expand on that. Generally, one full run will last about 30 minutes, if you are somewhat quick. And yeah, being a mix with a roguelike, it means that there is permadeath. So if you die, you will need to start over. But if you're lucky, you might have unlocked a new character to play around with. As I mentioned in the beginning, they are not too different in terms of playstyle, but the other characters can make the game much easier. There's certainly some potential to do more here and make the characters more interesting. Generally, for not even $4, it's certainly a game you can play around with. It feels quite polished, and the balancing during a playthrough is also fine. It's just the different characters and the attributes themselves which could be rebalanced to make for more interesting choices. And that would also be necessary if the game should be expanded in some way. It would also need more interesting stuff, random events, boss fights, anything like that to keep the player engaged for a few hours. In any case, that's all for this preview. I hope I've been able to give you a good overview, and if that's the case, then feel free to leave a like or subscription. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Happy crawling!